bit late with the draft videos, but I ain't really been plugged in sports, man. I kind of been bored with it outside the Pistons. But Isaac TeSlaa, from Hudsonville, Michigan. He went to Unity Christian in Hudsonville. I believe Hudsonville High School, they actually made the state championship this year. I think they beat Howe, and Howe had beat them earlier in the season pretty handily, and they beat Howe to get to the state championship. I believe they lost to, I think it was Cass. I followed that a little bit, but yeah, man, you know, the more and more I looked at the pick, I liked it. The only thing I really don't like about the pick is that he had most of his success in the slot. But then again, you hear that about a lot of guys. The number one receiver that from Arizona, the guy that said he didn't really like watching film on his own, you hear that a lot. You hear that an awful fucking lot, is that, oh, I don't like why, you know, you hear that, but I don't like playing in the slot. I mean, a lot of these guys go in the slot because when you play in the slot, you get a freer release because you can go left, right, up, down. When you're on the outside, you know, you can go up or breaking on the inside. It's hard to break out because you got the out of bounds being the 12th defender. You know what I'm saying? So you hear that with a lot of these receivers, that they have a lot of success. They have a lot of success. You know, in the slot, because a lot of these receivers today, they can't beat man-to-man coverage or press coverage or the outside coverage on the outside, so they move them in motion so they can get a free release. So they put them in the slot so they can get an easier release. So you seeing more and more guys come out the draft not being able to be ready to play on the outside. You know what I'm saying? And you think about, you got a guy that's 6'4", 6'3", and McMillan or whatever his name for Arizona, and I think depending who you ask about TeSlaa, 6'3", 6'4", and at that size, I understand TeSlaa, he don't have the experience. You can't be press coverage and create separation on the outside. That raises a red flag. You know what I'm saying? You got to get stronger. Is the coaching at Arizona pretty bad? So that's kind of a red flag in my thing, where you can't create that separation or you can't beat that press coverage. You soft, you're not tough enough. You already say you don't watch film. But TeSlaa, I actually like the pick. I mean, he's an elite athlete. I think his RAS score was 29 out of like almost a possible 3,800 receivers from 1987 to 2025. He's an elite athlete, almost a 40-inch vertical, 4.43, at 6'4", 6'3", 10 pounds. He has great hands. So for the most part, this is what they probably was trying to do with Antoine Green, but he didn't get an opportunity. But this guy got a lot of natural talent. And what they're going to do is they're going to get him stronger. They're going to teach him how to beat press coverage. They're going to teach him how to run routes a lot better. Once he learned those routes a lot better, it's going to be crazy. I know people was talking about the production not being there at Arkansas. I don't know what type of program Arkansas had, but I think this last year there, I think it was his only year. He had 500-something yards and 1 TD. Yeah, man, when you started to get into these, when you started to look at him, he's an elite prospect, man. He's an elite athlete. And what they gonna do is they gonna coach him up. Similar to the dude they took from Ohio State, Talik, whatever his name is. Watch what they do to him. They're gonna do the same thing they did with Liam McNeil, you know, and Broderick Martin. First, you know, Broderick Martin ain't put it all together yet, injuries and stuff of that nature. But they're gonna make him lose some weight. The dude from Ohio State, he gonna lose some weight. And you know what I'm saying? That he gonna be a more shiftier pass rusher. So I already understand. I made a fucking mistake. There we go. Damn cord. They're gonna turn him into an elite. They're gonna turn him into an elite all-around guy. He gonna lose some weight like McNeil did. He's gonna be a little bit more mobile, and they're banking on their development system. So, quite frankly, I like it. You know, only issue is, like, I hope these dudes get some help rushing the passer. That's it. But sorry, I'm hungry. But I like TeSlaa. Now the production in Arkansas, I ain't really worried about it, because is Arkansas even a good program? I mean, for him to get 500 and something yards in the SEC still pretty good to me. And he had no drops in his college career from what I read. So, natural hands, great athlete. And Brad Holmes talking about how great of a blocker he was. So he blocks at a high level too? Hell yeah. So, now, it's about coaching him up. Can you coach him up? Route running, the release on the outside, get him in the strength room. You're already a football player because he loved to block. Don't drop the ball. Elite athlete. Guess what? I can work with the rest of it. Get him a little bit stronger. You know, guess what? Elite. E-T-I-L-E. Elite. Backwards, obviously, but yeah. So I like the pick, man. When I kind of read about him, I'm like, damn. You know, same thing they liked about Vaki. Sometimes in Manu, sometimes you banking on your development. You banking on your coaching. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. And also, when you banking on development and coaching, you banking on the character of the player, that he wants to get better, he wants to be developed. So, you know, elite athlete, great hands, not scared to get his nose dirty, his hands dirty, his nose dirty. To me, it seemed like it was a no-brainer. So, we'll see what happens. You know, don't look for him to make an immediate impact, but, you know, they're going to get him stronger. They're going to polish his route running up. They're going to give some NFL coaching. And in no time, you'll probably start seeing, you know, the production. You start seeing production. So, yeah, I like the pick. You know, I like all the picks, to be honest. I just had my questions like, damn, you know, you had a guy like Mike Green on the board. We were just talking about that at the gym. But, you know, I'm going to trust the process. I'm going to trust the regime and see the full picture they paint. But I think every pick was needed. From the guard, they needed him. I think Manu going to kick out and be a right tackle. You needed him. From the defensive tackle, think about Reader. They were talking about he was a cut candidate. Probably his last year of his deal. So, yeah. So, you know, could they have used Mike Green? Had they used Will Johnson just off of talent pace? Yeah, but, you know, they're about building the trenches. So, especially if the Bears was going to try to get Genty, I'm probably already thinking, they're like, yeah, we got to sew this middle up. They didn't, but check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Thumbs up the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Next subscribe button is the bell icon button. Hit all notifications, increase your chance to get notifications. Check out Detroit Lions Talk playlist. Hit the link tree. Peace.